The Singapore allusion is an example. Ruto speaks of turning Kenya into Singapore, but what we see is hashtag Singapore, a nation drowning in. He told us. Oh, yeah. I didn't know I was going to do it. Yeah. Hey, kwani nyinyi hamkwenda sikukuu? Hey, the rain might come. I want to speak on the subject, the urgency of now. The urgency of now. These are my own reflections. As you can see, my colleagues in the United Opposition are not here, but we are all together. And therefore, end of year reflection and hope for the new year 2026. Wazalendo wenzangu. Thank you for joining me today, the second to last day of 2026. As we stand at this threshold between years, I speak to you not merely in reflection, but with a conviction and a resolve that the time for change is now. Kenya is hurting, and our people are suffering, and the time for polite diplomatic language has passed. Fellow Kenyans, 2025 was a year of profound loss. We have lost men and women who transformed this country and shaped our journey toward justice and freedom. We lost Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, a titan of democracy, a warrior for reform and electoral justice, and a relentless voice for the voiceless. His life was a testament that leadership must be anchored in courage, in conviction, and service to the people. We lost Rasnawara, whose pen exposed corruption without fear, and we mourned learned Senior Counsel Feroz Noraji, a defender of human rights, who never wavered in his commitment to justice. We also lost Catherine Yamato, a tireless advocate for marginalized communities. We lost Phoebe Asio, a pioneer for women's rights and empowerment. We also mourn David Mulwa and Mumbi Wamaina, voices of courage, conscience, and courage. And the world lost Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who taught us that freedom begins in the mind. These giants challenged us to be better, to demand more, and never accept oppression as a price of peace. We honor them by completing the journey to reclaim our country from this oppressive regime. As we speak, we are laying to rest Mheshimiwa Cyrus Jerome. And I think we pause for a moment to honor him. May his soul rest in peace. May those who may have been responsible for his untimely, tragic accident face justice, God's own justice. My fellow patriots, nothing defines the moral collapse of this regime more than the blood of our young people spilled in broad daylight. Let us never forget Rex Masai, Denzel Omondi, Alfred Ojwang, Eric Shieni, Boniface Kariuki. Remember, Kariuki was just selling masks after they attended his funeral. We remember Bridget Jopi, a young child shot in our own living room or our parents' living room by police bullets out there. in Kiambu, near Ndumberi, away from Nairobi. There are possibly people could be arguing the intensity of demonstrations. Are innocents stolen in an instant of senseless violence? We remember the abducted, like Rosemary Njeri, whose crime, quote unquote, was creating an online civic tool to help Kenyans participate in the Finance Bill 2025. Our story and recognition in time 100 next. I was there in court to plead. Tell them, why have you brought up here? The magistrate agreed with us. Rex, Alfred, Eric, Denzel, Boniface, Bridget, and Rosemary were not criminals, yet they were met with bullets, abductions, and intimidation by a ruto-sanctioned operation that violated their constitutional rights. And they represent, as you all know, many others. In 2023, when Raila was around and we went demonstrating against the high cost of living, 70 plus of them were shot down. We buried them all over the place. In Siaya, in Machakos. So this is just a representative sample of the young Kenyans we did not have to lose. This is not just a national tragedy, it is a moral failure by the legacy and the legacy of the Ruto regime. I ask Kenyans to honor our fallen friends and children by committing ourselves to a Kenya where no young person will ever again pay with their life for demanding justice under the Constitution. Zalendo wenzangu, let us speak honestly about where we are and what is the state of our nation, of which the evidence is coming, and it comes from Kenyans themselves. Anywhere and everywhere, be it in Nairobi or Mombasa, the Rift Valley or Western, coastal, northeastern, the devastating picture of life under the Ruto regime in just 3 years is clear. No amount of sugarcoating or political rhetoric that is self-serving can change these facts. While Ruto makes promise after promise, there are actually about 300 or so far, the majority of which he has failed to deliver, except the self-promise to enrich himself and cronies with Kenyan taxpayers' hard-earned money. These are the facts. Number one, the cost of living has become unbearable. Families cannot afford food, fuel, or basic necessities. Overtaxation has crushed households, while corruption and waste drain public resources. A lot of them could not even afford to go home over Christmas. Unemployment, number two, has reached crisis levels. Our educated youth, the pride of this nation, are jobless and disillusioned. Graduates hawk goods on the streets, while unqualified cronies, products of brutalism, occupy top government positions based on loyalty and ethnicity, not on merit. More damning, manufacturers are leaving the country in their droves because of the unpredictable Ruto policies, costing thousands of Kenyans their jobs and millions more than their breadwinners. Thirdly, insecurity has become the new norm. From police brutality to abductions, from femicide to banditry to petty crimes and increased house breakings, Kenyans are living in fear. The Kenyan skyline is changing, yes, with higher stone walls and barbed wire on the top that block sunlight, because Kenyans are more afraid of their fellow Kenyans than ever before. Nairobi, that used to be called the Green City in the Sun, is now an unplanned storm city under siege because this regime chooses greed over the people. Fourthly, despair has replaced hope. Kenyans feel burdened, overtaxed, underpaid, and overburdened. Each day dawns with a new levy, a new penalty, a new heartbreak. Are we not waiting for January to hear that NSSF has upped their contribution as well? Fifthly, or thereabouts, healthcare has collapsed into a nightmare. SHA shift forced on Kenyans has become the most consequential threat to our well-being. Hospitals are understaffed and under-equipped. Mothers give birth in fear. Doctors go unpaid, and hospitals run out of essential drugs. I met two families in Sekuru where I was for Christmas, Sunday morning, from different parts of the constituency. And they had a similar story to say, help us. Our child is lying in Kenyatta Referral Hospital, mortuary. We are required to pay 1.2 million shillings. We can't afford, help us. So we are trying to see how I can now relate to that story, I can help. The next family comes in from Kasa side, you know where Mungi know this. Mumoni, a young man whom I knew, was working in the geothermal power producing plants, contracted some infection. He also died at Kenyatta Referral Hospital. The body was lying there. The father, who was one or two classes ahead of me in high school, could not afford. They are saying, help us bring the body of our young professional, chemical engineer, home. Tumechoka kila siku fundraise on TikTok, Facebook, and WhatsApp groups to give our loved ones access to quality health care. Sio lazima utrend ndio saidike. That's what I suggest. Education has become a burden, sixthly, instead of a bridge. Education, once the key to opportunity, has been turned into a nightmare for families. Parents are drowning in debt just to keep their children in school, while teachers and lecturers are demoralized, unpaid, and disrespected. Students are uncertain of their future, wondering if their education will lead anywhere in a country where public sector jobs go to political cronies, not qualified graduates, and private sector opportunities are dwindling by the hour. Our schools and universities have been reduced to striking zones because this regime does not value education or educators. As we speak, 300, as of today, 350,000 young Kenyans who are supposed to join grade 10 under the controversial and I dare say unrecognizable CBC system do not know where they are going to school. And they are expected to join year 10 on January 12th. 350,000 have applied for transfer. This is not governance. This is organized suffering for parents and their children. This is not bottom-up economics. It is ruto bottom shape. Bottomless corruption and top-down greed. Fellow Kenyans, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, I quote, "We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now," end of quote. The urgency of now is a cry of a mother who cannot afford medicine for a sick child, the desperation of a young graduate with no job, the fear of a family living under police brutality, and the anger of a farmer who cannot feed their family. 2026 must be a year of change, fellow Kenyans. Not change delayed or promised, but change delivered. The urgency of now demands we say with one voice, one term, Komboa Kenya. As a land wenzangu, let me be clear about what this regime is doing. Faced with failure and faced with the revolution, they have resorted to destruction, to deception, and to delay. The Singapore allusion is an example. Ruto speaks of turning Kenya into Singapore. But what we see is hashtag Singapore, a nation drowning in debt, overtaxed citizens, collapsed industries, and fleeing investors. Let us be clear, Singapore was built on discipline, on merit, and strategic investment. In 3 years, Kenya under Ruto is being drowned in Rutopreneurship, where public office is a family business, where contracts go to cronies, and where corruption is policy. Let us be even clearer. You cannot hope or pretend to build Singapore on the foundation of theft, incompetence, and nepotism. Let's face it, Singapore is all we will ever get under this regime. Secondly, I want to talk about the referendum diversion. And now, they want to add a constitutional referendum to the August 2027 elections. Can you imagine, Kenya? Already the weight of 6 ballots from an MCA to an MP to a senator to a county women rep to a governor to a senator, did I say senator? To the president, 6 ballots. And you want to add other ballots to make it 10? Where in the world has that happened? I must tell them, we do not even have in place a referendum law. Let Parliament deal with that first. And when we and the NADCO dealt with these issues, those issues, the number one item was the cost of living, which this regime said, no, that's our business, leave it. Now it is now under the urgency of now. This is so that they can manipulate the process